Okay, so here's another book called African Presence in Early Europe by Ivan van Sertima. Alright. It says, this is page 228. And this is for you, for the people, you know, that are going to watch Thor, the movie Thor. Is supposed to be originally played by a black man. But, you know, the Esau got mad that it's too exposing and it's outrageous, you know. But that was a black man. I'm going to prove that. 228. It says, when one turns to Scandinavia, the African presence is no less a reality. I will first explore the historic record, then the mythology, and lastly the archaeology and paleontology in order to draw some conclusions. Snorri Sturluson, the Icelandic poet, historian, and chieftain, recorded that in Scandinavia there are many tribes and many tongues. There are giants and dwarfs, there are black men and many kinds of strange tribes. Thorhall the Hunter, a Viking who was the mentor and closest companion of Eric the Red, Thorhall was described as a large black man and strong, black, and like a giant. There were other black Norsemen mentioned in the sagas like Thorstein the Black. Sturluson also writes about Halfdan the Black, first king to unite Norway. Alright, and here we have Tyr, an early woolly-haired Norse god who preceded Thor as a sky deity. Alright, clearly a Negro. Alright, Thor was a black man, but this guy preceded Thor. Woolly-haired Negro. He preceded Thor as a sky god. Alright. Okay. Now, let's go here. Nature Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers. Let's go to page 29. It says, Negroes were first worshipped in Greece and Rome. White masses bowed down to black deities. The rites of Apollo were founded by Delphos and his Negro mother Melanus. And the worship of black Isis and Horus was popular in Rome and the Roman colonies as far north as Britain. Page 32. It says, at the legendary siege of Troy, black men and women fought with great courage. One of their kings was Black Memnon of Ethiopia. The herald and companion of Ulysses, hero of Troy, was black woolly-haired Eurybates, which you read before. Zeus, the father of the gods, is in love with Lamia, a black princess from Africa. And they say Ethiopia and all that madness. You know, they're really jigs though. Here's from Greece, coins with Negro heads. You know. Let's go to page 34. It says Alexander the Great. Alexander Alexander the Great's foremost general was a Negro, Clitus Mellus, that is, Clitus the Black in Latin, Clitus Niger. Greek legends tell of Negroes at the siege of Troy. They also appear on the monuments, especially in Crete. There were Negro Amazons or female warriors too. Okay. And finally, let's go to page 145. Here it says, Napoleon had at least 12 Negro and mulatto generals. One of the most renowned of his earlier officers was Joseph Domingue, an unmixed Negro called by Napoleon Hercules because of his size and strength. And here it says types of Negro soldiers of Napoleon. Alright, black men. So even in captivity we're great. That's what the Most High is trying to show you. So imagine when we're kings of the earth, man, of the universe. Alright, now let's go here. Sex and Race. Negro Caucasian Mixing in All Ages and All Lands by J. Rogers. Page 8. I read about Beethoven, Ludwig Beethoven. Alright, you can clearly see he's a black man. Alright. Page 83. Alexander the Great. It says, Alexander the Great, as may be supposed, had Negroes in his armies. One of the most illustrious of the latter was Clitus, his best beloved, whom he made king of Bactria and commander of his cavalry. Clitus is mentioned by Plutarch and others as Clitus Niger, that is Clitus the Negro. And here it says, hair of Apollo, number 1. Here, Apollo. And these are braids, cornrows, showing that this is a black man. Alright. These are braids, cornrows. Alright. It says, two of the most illustrious writers of Greece are mentioned as Negroes, Aesop and Sappho. Socrates, too, might have been of Negro origin. He has a small flat nose and bullet head of the Bushman. His features are most certainly not Grecian. Okay. Alright, and Socrates was a Negro along with Hippocrates and Aristotle. The 12 sages, those were all Israelites in the Hellenistic mind. You know, when we're in righteousness, we make the world great. When we're in wickedness, you know, we make the world great as well, man. Shit. You know, on the left-hand side, Jake excels anywhere he goes. You know. As the scripture says, my people have become more wicked than the wicked. And the wicked is the white man, Esau. Edom. Alright. So now, in the same book, let's go to page 221. It says, another illustrious figure who claimed Moorish origin was Murat, king of king of Naples, brother-in-law of Napoleon, and the greatest cavalryman leader of the 19th century. Masson says it was believed that he was a descendant of one of those Moors who came with Abdel Rahman to the succor of the Duke of Aquitaine. Murat was distinctly Negroid in features, dark with thick lips and frizzly hair. The Duchess de Ambrantes, who knew him well, said there is a great deal of the Negro in his face. His nose, it is true, is not flat, but his lips are thick. This nose, though straight, lacks distinction and gives him, together with the rest of his features, at least the appearance of a mixed blood. Still another celebrated royal figure who came from this region was Bernadotte, founder of the present Swedish royal family. Bernadotte, who was one of Napoleon's great marshals, had a dark skin and woolly hair, though the rest of his features were Caucasian. Page 223. It says the order for the expulsion of the Negroes was probably not carried out, because in the succeeding reign there were enough Negroes in France to form a regiment or two. Napoleon had 12 Negro generals in his army in France, one of whom was the renowned General Alexander Dumas, commander of his cavalry. Till 1798, and father of the novelist, there were also hundreds of Negroes officers who, after Napoleon had reintroduced slavery in Haiti, turned against him and were used as a fifth column by Messina. Considerable prejudice rose against the Negroes in France, and as a result, and in 1799 there was talk of deporting them all. They were accused of being too rich and driving around in elegant carriages with white footmen and servants. That's funny, man. You know. The second last book I want to go to is Golden Age of the Moor by Ivan van Sertima. Alright, let's go to page 10. It says, the first university of Christian Spain was founded at Valencia by Alfonso VIII in the 13th century, and the teachers employed were the Muslims and the Jews. Nearly all the major universities in Europe sprung up around the same time, beginning in the second half of the 12th century right up through the 13th century. A span of about 150 years, a period which coincides with the flowering of Moorish science and the establishment of centers in Europe to translate Moorish treatises from Arabic into Latin. In Italy, we have Bologna, Padua, Naples, Rome, in France, Montpellier and Toulouse, in Portugal, Lisbon and Coimbra, in England, Oxford. So who created Oxford? The Moors. The Moors established the University of Oxford. All right. Several of the Moorish works in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine became standard texts at these universities. For example, Jadwal, a Moorish work in astronomy, became a standard. Jadwal, a Moorish work in astronomy, became a standard text at Oxford. Frederick II founded a university at Naples in 1224, and there he established a curriculum which emphasized Moorish scholarship. Under him, all theological studies ceased at Italian universities, and Moorish medicine and law became the major disciplines. Here it's page 11. It says, the Moors also dug canals and channels to irrigate the farmlands and provide water for the thousands of houses and mosques and palaces and public baths. They not only increased the fertility of the soil with their new methods and tools and plants and manures, but they also ushered in the sciences of food preservation and storage. They could store wheat for as long as 100 years. Their methods of drying enabled such food as figs, plums, cherries, and apples to remain edible for several years. This page 13. It says, the narrowness of vision this produced among leaders of the church and state was to have catastrophic effects. These were Edomites. It led to the massive burning of African and Arab books under the order of Cardinal Ximenes de Cisneros. It inspired a similar bonfire of the books of Native Americans. Bishop de Landa exhorted his followers in the Yucatan, which is in Mexico, burn them all, they are works of the devil. So Israelites in Mexico had books, man. The Native Americans had books. You know, they weren't illiterate, damn devils, man. They had a language, they had a written language, and they spoke it. They were mostly oral, though. Alright, and they had books, which is the Bible. Hebrew Bible, the Torah, and those devils, they knew the Israelites. They said, burn those books, make them forget their heritage, man. You fucking crackers, you're gonna fucking pay for that, man. Alright? The destruction of the Moorish libraries was particularly vicious because it was not only inspired by religious narrowness and bigotry. Hatred of the dark invaders kindled the bonfires. The church at that time, too, saw most of this foreign learning as something evil, even demonic. The number system that we use today, for example, brought in by the Moors from India, was seen as late as the 17th century in some parts of Europe as signs of the devil. It became a religious mission for men like Ximenes and his successors to erase from history all memory of the Moors. Ximenes even induced the Spanish sovereigns to outlaw the public baths, making cleanness antithetical to godliness. It's madness. This is fucking Edomites, you white people, man. You fucking crackers, man. Alright. Now, last historical record that I'm gonna go into is the Josephus. Alright, the complete works. And I'm gonna hit up a couple pages here. Let's go to page 36. Alright. Man gathered historical evidence and researched the history of the Israelites. 36. This is Adam, or the Adamites. He had indeed many other children, but Seth in particular. As for the rest, it would be tedious to name them. So Adam had many sons. Of course, you can extrapolate that from the scriptures, because that's in Jake's spirit. But Seth was the key. Seth was the our forefather, our patriarch, if you will, As for the rest, it would be tedious to name them. I will therefore only endeavor to give an account of those that proceeded from Seth. Now this Seth, when he was brought up, and came to those years in which he could discern what was good, became a virtuous man. And as he was himself of an excellent character, so did he leave children behind him who imitated his virtues. All these proved to be of good dispositions. They also inhabited the same country without dissensions, and in happy condition, without any misfortunes fallen upon them till they died. They also were the inventors of that particular sort of wisdom which is concerned with the heavenly bodies and their order, and that their inventions might not be lost before they were sufficiently known upon Adam's prediction that the world was to be destroyed at one time by the force of fire, which is right now, and at another time by the violence of quantity of water, which was the flood. They made 2 pillars, the one of brick, the other of stone. They inscribed their discoveries on them both, that in case the pillar or brick should be destroyed by the flood, the pillar of stone might remain and exhibit those discoveries to mankind, and also informed them that there was another pillar of brick erected by them. Now this remains in the land of Syria to this day. Alright. Now let's go. So the Adamites had knowledge, man, Most High blessed them. Let's go to page 43. Let's deal with Abraham. This is Abraham. He was a person of great sagacity, both for understanding all things and persuading his hearers, and not mistaken in his opinions, for which reason he began to have higher notions of virtue than others had. And he determined to renew and to change the opinion all men happened then to have concerning God. For he was the first then ventured to publish this notion that there was but one God, the creator of the universe, and that as to other gods, if they contributed anything to the happiness of men. This opinion was derived from the irregular phenomena that were visible both at land and sea, as well as those that happened to the sun and moon and all the heavenly bodies. Thus, if, said he, these bodies had power of their own, they would certainly take care of their own regular motions. But since they do not preserve such regularity, they make it plain that in so far as they cooperate to our advantage, they do it not of their own abilities, but as they are subservient to him that commands them. Right, which is true. If the moon had its own power, why would it be serving us every single night? Why would it choose that? Why wouldn't it go somewhere else? Why would it change? Showing that the Most High, in Baruch, it tells it, the Most High tells the moon and the sun to go into services, and it listens to them. You understand what I'm saying? If the sun, why does the sun come up every morning right where the same spot is, man? You know what I'm saying? From the east to the west. If it had a mind of its own, it can move somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't it move somewhere else, man? It says, to whom alone we ought justly to offer our honor and thanksgiving, for which doctrines, when the Chaldeans and other people of Mesopotamia raised a tumult against him, he thought fit to leave that country, and at the command and by the assistance of God he came and lived in the land of Canaan. And when he was there settled, he built an altar and performed a sacrifice to God. Berosus mentions our father Abraham without naming him, when he says thus: in the 10th generation after the flood there was among the Chaldeans a man righteous and great and skillful in the celestial science. Concerning him, and Nicolaus of Damascus, in the 4th book of his history, says thus: Abraham reigned in Damascus, being a foreigner, who came with an army out of the land above Babylon, called the land of the Chaldeans. But after a long time he got up and removed from that country, also with his people, and went into the land then called the land of Canaan, but now the land of Judea. And this when his posterity will become a multitude, as to which posterity of his we relate their history in another work. Now the name of Abraham is even still famous in the country of Damascus, and there is shown a village named from him, the habitation of Abraham. And let me read this last part. He also made him a large present in money, and gave him leave to enter into conversation with the most learned among the Egyptians, from which conversation his virtue and his reputation became more conspicuous than they had been before. For whereas the Egyptians were formerly addicted to different customs, and despised one another's sacred and accustomed rites, and were very angry one with another on that account, Abraham conferred with each of them, and confuting the reasonings they made use of, every one for their own practices, demonstrated that such reasonings were vain and void of truth. Whereupon he was admired by them in those conferences as a very wise man, and one of great sagacity, when he discoursed on any subject he undertook, and this not only in understanding it, but in persuading other men also to assent to him. He communicated to them arithmetic, and delivered to them the science of astronomy. For before Abraham came into Egypt, they were unacquainted with those parts of learning, for that science came from the Chaldeans into Egypt, and from thence to the Greeks also. Alright, and I'm going to bring out two scriptures to end this lesson in the Apocrypha. This is the book of Baruch. Baruch 3:17. No, Salakia. Salakia, not Baruch. That's the second scripture. Second Ezra 3:17. It says, "And it came to pass that when thou lettest us seed out of Egypt, thou broughtest them up to the Mount Sinai, and bound the heavens, thou didst set fast the earth, movest the whole world, and madest the depths to tremble, and troublest the men of that age. And thy glory went through 4 gates of fire, and of earthquake, and of wind, and of cold, that thou mightest give the law unto the seed of Jacob, and diligence unto the generation of Israel." Alright? And the precept is Baruch 3:36. Baruch chapter 3 verse 36. "He hath found out all the way of knowledge, and hath given it unto Jacob his servant, and to Israel his beloved. Afterward did he show himself upon earth, and converse with men." So the Most High found out all knowledge, and he gave it unto Jacob. Alright, so with that, I hope you brothers learned something. All praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Barakatham, and double honors to the elders, great millstone Barakatham, and double honors to the brothers out there doing the true work. Keep pushing this word, brothers. Barakatham, man. Shalom.